Have you ever found yourself maybe looking up at the night sky or just staring out the window and really pondering those big questions? The ones like, why am I here? Or what's my actual purpose? Or even what happens after? Well, after this life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really universal human thing, isn't it? Something that sort of connects us all across time and cultures. And when you start digging into those questions, you quickly realize just how vast the landscape of human belief really is. I mean, throughout history, there have been thousands of different paths people have taken. Some say over 4,000 pathways, beliefs.
Yeah, it's a huge number.
And even today, right now, there are around 20 major world religions still widely practiced, plus hundreds of smaller belief systems. So with all these different avenues, all this information, it makes you wonder, how does anyone even begin to, navigate that search, the search for truth, for meaning?
It can feel pretty overwhelming, like trying to find one specific star in, well, the whole galaxy. It absolutely can feel like that. And what's really fascinating, I think, is that this drive, this human impulse to search for meaning, these deep questions, it's not just something from the past. It's really a core universal experience. It sticks with us.
Right.
Even with all the distractions we have today, social media constantly buzzing, endless entertainment, new trends popping up all the time. None of that truly silences those deeper questions inside us, does it?
No, it doesn't seem to.
They hang around because they seem fundamental to our existence, to what it means to be human. They're just a natural part of how we think, always there under the surface, kind of nudging us to look a bit deeper.
Exactly. Like an undercurrent that's always present, no matter how much noise we surround ourselves with. So for this deep dive, what we want to do is explore a specific set of ideas that offer what many find to be clear, logical answers to these really old, persistent human questions. Our goal is to unpack why this particular worldview resonates with people looking for purpose and, clarity. Okay, so let's start unpacking this. When we talk about these really big questions, one of the first that nearly always comes up is origins. Where did everything come from? You look at the sheer vastness of space, right? Or the incredible complexity of life here on Earth.
Yeah, even just the human body itself.
Exactly. The intricacy of our own bodies, our brains. It makes you ask, could all of this really just be some kind of cosmic accident? It's pretty mind-boggling when you stop and think about the implications.
It really is. And it prompts that fundamental question. The materials we're looking at, they really dive into this idea of a singular origin. They emphasize that if things like time, space, and matter all had a beginning,
which science suggests they did.
Right. Then logically, something must have existed before them. That's a core argument here. Every effect, they argue, needs a cause. So this ultimate cause, whatever it is, couldn't be part of the created universe itself.
Okay, so it has to be outside of it.
Exactly. It had to be eternal, completely outside the physical realm, and obviously possessing immense intelligence, immense power, enough to bring everything into being from, nothing. The texts often call this the uncaused cause, or the first principle.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the worldview we're exploring today describes a creator in precisely those terms. It's presented as unique, eternal, not born, not created, without limits, and completely unlike anything within creation.
That distinction is key.
Yeah, these sources really emphasize an absolute difference between the creator and the created. This idea directly tackles that origin question, offering a kind of cohesive explanation for why the universe exists at all.
And what's fascinating here is the strong emphasis on absolute monotheism, sometimes called tawhid in these specific texts. It's different from some other perspectives where maybe the creator blends with creation or is described in very human-like ways.
You're taking on human form, maybe.
Exactly. Or having partners or needing food or rest. These materials stress very strongly that the creator is one, absolutely singular. No divisions, no human characteristics. The view is that the creator is utterly unique, completely distinct from anything created.
Beyond our full understanding, essentially.
Yes, beyond human comprehension, not bound by time or space, not needing rest or sleep or help.
Right. And the argument presented is that this view avoids certain, maybe logical contradictions by insisting on the creator's absolute self-sufficiency and transcendence.
That's the idea. The creator is seen as completely independent of creation,
while everything else depends entirely on the creator.
Precisely. And for many people engaging with these ideas, this clarity, this logical consistency is a big part of why this view of the creator really resonates. It appeals to reason. It presents a framework that aims for complete coherence, where the divine is understood as entirely free from any imperfection or need.
Okay, but belief isn't just about intellectual ideas,
Right.
right? It's also deeply about how you actually live your life day to day.
Oh, absolutely.
So what kind of practical guidance does this worldview offer for just navigating daily existence?
Well, it's presented as a complete way of life, not just abstract beliefs. It offers guidance, structure, and a real sense of purpose. This covers everything from individual ethics, how you treat people, to how society should function. A central theme is sincerity and having a direct, unmediated connection with the creator.
No intermediaries needed.
Correct. No need for complex rituals or intermediaries just to connect. It's about fostering a personal relationship. Take prayer, for instance. It's not just reciting words. The texts describe it as a direct conversation, a moment of real communion.
A personal connection?
Yes, where you can express gratitude, ask for guidance, find comfort, with no barrier between you and the divine.
That idea of a direct connection really does stand out. So the suggestion isn't that it's restrictive, but that it actually offers maybe peace of mind, a clear sense of responsibility.
That's exactly the perspective presented, a meaningful framework for dealing with all the challenges life throws at you.
Can you give some specific examples of this practical guidance? What kind of moral compass does it provide?
Sure. It lays out very clear ethical principles. For example, honesty and justice are absolutely crucial in all your dealings, business, personal life, even in governance.
Okay.
Compassion for those in need, generosity, keeping your word, these are heavily emphasized. The texts provide a strong moral compass. It guides you through complex situations by constantly reminding you of your accountability to the Creator.
So it connects actions back to that higher accountability.
Yes, it's about living in a way that's pleasing to the divine, which in turn is believed to lead to inner peace and also social harmony. It encourages you to be mindful of your actions, your intentions, how you impact others, seeing every act as an opportunity to align with your purpose.
It sounds very holistic, connecting your inner state with your outer actions.
Yeah.
So when we talk about all the different paths out there, it's only natural to compare. How does this particular worldview stand in relation to other major belief systems?
Well, the materials certainly present unique perspectives while also acknowledging other traditions exist. For instance, they draw a distinction from traditions where the Creator is described as becoming human, maybe even dying for humanity's sins.
Right.
The texts argue that for the Creator to take human form or die would contradict the concept of his absolute transcendence and immortality. That's a foundational point for them.
A logical sticking point from their perspective.
Yes. Then, compared to belief systems with multiple gods or perhaps complex cycles of reincarnation, these materials present a singular path focused on the oneness of God and a clear view of life as one journey leading to ultimate accountability in an afterlife. They argue that multiple gods would lead to confusion, a lack of ultimate authority, and reincarnation, from their viewpoint, doesn't quite align with individual responsibility and a definitive divine judgment.
And what's interesting, based on what we're discussing, is that it doesn't necessarily dismiss prophets or truth found in those other traditions.
That's true. It often acknowledges their wisdom and divine origin.
However, it also teaches that its specific message is the final preserved revelation, carefully protected from being corrupted or changed over time. Can you elaborate a bit on what that means, practically speaking, according to these materials?
Absolutely. The materials make a very strong case for the preservation of their core texts. They assert that unlike earlier revelations, which they suggest might have been altered or lost their original form over centuries, this final message was meticulously preserved.
How so?
Through memorization by vast numbers of people, generation after generation, and careful written transmission, ensuring its authenticity and clarity remain intact.
So the guidance is seen as complete.
Yes, complete, unadulterated, and universally applicable, meant to address humanity's spiritual and practical needs right up until the end of time. This preservation itself is presented as a sign of divine care, a guarantee of the message's truthfulness, making it accessible to anyone seeking guidance directly.
So if we tie this all together, what we've been discussing combines a very clear, distinct understanding of the Creator with comprehensive practical guidance for living, along with a robust set of moral principles. It offers an explanation for the universe, for human nature, our ultimate purpose. It seems to aim to appeal to both the mind through logic and coherence and the heart through its spiritual depth and the promise of inner peace. It really tries to connect everything.
Exactly. The materials present a worldview that isn't tied to one particular group or place. It's described as universal. And, in fact, it is one of the most rapidly growing belief systems globally. For anyone genuinely searching for truth, these materials basically offer an invitation. Explore this with an open mind, a sincere heart. See if this coherent framework resonates.
So we've kind of journeyed from the cosmic origins, the idea of a single eternal creator, all the way to practical daily guidance. And we touched on how this perspective compares to other worldviews. It's presented as a comprehensive way to understand not just existence itself, but your own purpose within it, a complete framework for life.
And this really brings up an important point for you, the listener, to think about. Choosing a belief system, or even just a framework for understanding life, that's one of the most profound choices you can make. If there's even a possibility that a particular understanding of existence, of purpose, of the creator could represent a deep truth, and we've looked at some of the arguments today, doesn't it deserve at least some honest consideration, an open mind?
It really does seem to. The journey towards truth, it so often starts with just being curious, right? Asking those big questions we started with, and just being open to new insights wherever they might lead. And perhaps for you, that journey really begins now with taking a deeper look into these specific ideas.